Welcome back to another episode of Athlete POV. We're sitting down with Kaley Mudge, Florida State outfielder, softball, not baseball. We're excited to have her on. We're excited to see what she has to say, and I can't wait to get into the mind of a girl who just hit a home run on opening day. What's going on?
Hey, how are you?
Not bad, not bad. You have practice today? Get training? Anything today?
Yeah, we had lift this morning and then actually practice about right now, but I actually have Mondays off because I have school pretty much from 9 to 7. So coach has been really nice about accommodating that with me.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like student athletes definitely have they definitely gotta work hard, like practice or training daily or your rare day off. But obviously academics important. Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a big important aspect. So one of the main things I wanted to hit on in this little podcast interview was obviously Florida State came real close last year of winning the whole thing, right, in the Women's College World Series.
Mhm.
So I want to know what you guys have been doing this past offseason to maybe not end up in the same spot that you were last year and ultimately finish on top.
Yeah, so when we came back in fall, um, we had our first team meeting, and our equipment manager, Frankie, introduced what was going to be on our lift shirts, lift and conditioning shirts for the year, and it was "Nobody cares, work harder." So that was definitely coming back. Like, I think the push that we needed, because obviously it's a great accomplishment to be the last two teams standing, and obviously we would have loved to be the last team standing, and that's our goal this year. But Frankie really came up with that mantra or slogan for us this year, and we've really just adopted it because, just simply saying that we were the national runner-up last year isn't going to get us any wins this year. It's not going to get us back to OKC. We knew, like, going in, nobody really cares what happened last year. We have to work hard to make it back to OKC and to hopefully be in the national championship series again. So I think that mentality of the "nobody cares, work harder" has really pushed us in the off season.
Absolutely. And that exact quote, "nobody cares, work harder," is probably one of the top five-ish quotes that like Athletic Mind stands by and like that sort of message. Because ultimately, you can do whatever you want, but no one cares.
Hmm.
Like another branch off that could be like, no one cares until you win, so win, or something like that. So that's
Hmm.
actually a really great like message that I think you guys see every day, every time you're thinking about, well, training, do one more rep, I'll get there. Maybe that'll be it. So that's
Yeah.
really interesting, I think. And who the manager, is that like a player, like the captain, or is it like a specific?
No, he works full time here. It's actually he's most famous for being, I think, the ball boy for FSU football. So his
Mm,
nickname was Red Lightning, but now Frankie works with
gotcha.
us in soccer full time. So we're lucky to have him.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. That the known ball boy or whoever.
Hmm.
Oh yeah. So going back to like really all connecting all together, what is Florida State's standard?
That's a good question. So, Coach O always tells us and tries to help us when we come in to live above the line. And so, like, our main standards, we have FSAC, which is our core values. It stands for family, smart, aggressive, competitive, committed. And
Hmm.
she created those core values a while back, and it just kind of creates a common language in between us. And I think it really builds culture because, obviously we're each our own player, we each our own person individually, but our FSAC values really bring us together as a team, so that we can live above the line and live the standards that we have. So lucky that
Definitely.
we have a common language and such a great culture here. So.
Absolutely, and that sort of reminds me of, like, I mean, I'm in college myself, but
Mhm.
that sort of reminds me when I played high school football, and like we would go to film room, and then our head football coach would write like, no, our defense coordinator, he'd write like this quote on the board by Nick Saban. To be honest, I forget what it was because I mean it was so long, a little bit a while ago. But yeah, that just goes to show. I feel like a certain message that your team can stand behind is like really important because then it's like that's what you are sort of if you live up to it and you like follow like what the coach says and stuff like that sort of.
Mhm.
um yeah, so now let's go to like the opening night, right? You lead off, right? Correct.
Yes, I
All
always
right.
lead off. They're gonna switch the lineup a bunch, so I don't want to call myself the only lead
I
off
got you.
because
Cool, cool.
I just enjoy being in the lineup. So.
Right. So leading off especially, what is, well, I shouldn't say what, I should say how do you handle pressure? Because I know, not only being first, but the first game, coming back off a national title appearance, how do you handle pressure and then ultimately succeeding at that pressure of hitting a home run opening night? How does that work?
Yeah, so growing up, I was always either leadoff or two hole in travel ball, and part of me always liked the two hole because I was like, oh, I can see the pitcher throw a couple pitches to someone in front of me before going up to the plate. But I've also really enjoyed leadoff. Um, Ever since I got into high school, I really just kind of accepted it, and
Mm,
honestly, now I love being leadoff because I feel like there's so many different tools to my game,
hmm.
especially now with a little bit more power in my swing. I can have the occasional home run here and there. I can lay down a bunt. I can slap. I can hit a single up the middle. There's a lot of different things that I can do, and one of my favorite parts about the game is just aggressive base running. So I love getting on base, and being leadoff just kind of I just like it because I just try to get on for my team and um,
Definitely.
start the game off on a right note. So
And I saw my team and I, we did a little bit of research, got like this whole sheet on you. We saw in high school, you had a batting average over 400. So, I mean, that's obviously not normal. You look at softball or at like MLB or any sort of baseball, softball league, that's not normal.
right.
Obviously shows skill set that is elite, higher than really everybody else.
Mhm.
How do you, what was the main thing in high school for you that not got you to where you are, but like when did you know that like, oh yeah, I'm special. Like I knew I have that it factor that I'm like going to take my game to the next level.
That's a good question. Well, I got lucky because in high school, my assistant coach was also my head travel coach. So I actually got to work with him year round, which was awesome. And um, he always believed in me. He always had faith in me. And
What's his
this was
name?
back before. His name is Eric Burley.
Okay, shout
Um,
out.
yeah, so shout out to Coach Eric. He's awesome. Definitely has gotten me to where I am today. And um, obviously, with recruiting back then, there wasn't an age limit or a class limit of when people could commit. So
Right.
I actually committed my freshman year of high school,
Oh,
and
wow.
I
That
figured
that's a
committing. Yeah.
that's pretty amazing because I feel like once you're committed, you know what your future sort of is. I feel like you just
Hmm.
gotta. I remember there was like there was this one guy, Inky Johnson. He was a football player, and he said, you know who I'm talking about?
Yeah.
He had an unfortunate injury, but I remember I saw some podcast like interview he did, or he was speaking, and he said, "Oh, it was going into my senior year. I just got to play these next 16 games, and I'm gonna be like a first round pick or something." So he like already kind of knew the future, but still got to work towards it. So go on.
Okay. So definitely committing that early and committing to Florida State. Coaches saw something in me. T. Will and Snyder, who's at Texas A&M now, but I mean, they all saw something in me and believed in me from the beginning, and I'm very grateful for that too. Because honestly, the player that I was freshman year of high school was not the player that I was senior year of high school. So I
Definitely.
feel like I mean, I knew that I had certain skill sets. I feel like that were unique, and Coach
Hmm.
Eric was always very complimentary and always like helped me work hard. But I feel like my senior year of high school was when I really realized like I am good enough to play at the next level. Like I was never that player that walked around like thinking I was. Oops, sorry.
It's okay.
Um, I was never that player in high school, thinking that I had made it just because I verbally committed. I knew that there was a lot more work to be done. Obviously, playing at an elite school like FSU, so I felt like I always pretty much put my head down and just put the work in. And then I feel like senior year of high school was when I looked up and I was like, oh wow, like okay, these stats are actually pretty good. Like softball, this is going well. So. Yeah,
Definitely.
pretty much senior year of
Yeah.
high school was when I was like, okay, I'm excited to go to the next level and push myself.
Wow. So I got a couple things off that. First off, obviously senior year when you thought, oh yeah, I can do this. Obviously it panned out because even your freshman and redshirt freshman, you played and it was
Mhm.
pretty effective for Florida State. And then another thing you mentioned how you think you got lucky because you had two coaches, the same coach for both travel and high school. But let me tell you this: you can't just get lucky to be in the place where you are. Obviously, a certain level of like commitment, hard work. Not everything. I mean, yes, it helps being have a God given ability, which a lot of pro and college athletes definitely have. But
Mhm.
no one just gets lucky to be in the situation where you are, and no one really just gets lucky for to advance their career into the next level and keep playing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So my next question: what are some of like the healthiest habits that you have and like a more consistent routines, and how do you think those things got you to where you are today?
Yeah, I think I always knew I wasn't going to be the flashiest player. I wasn't going to be the ones with the most home runs or the ones that people look at when they think of softball. They think of, oh, like big power hitters, home runs. And I think my coach helped me accept that and really dig into like my identity as a softball player. And he's the one that really helped me become consistent. But it was more of looking up to the FSU girls that had been playing through my commitment and through my years in high school, and then junior year, seeing them win their first national championship. I was like I want to be that. I want to be the best I can be, and
That must have been so like I want to be there right now when you're in high school,
yeah,
probably like, oh, I'm missing out on their national championship. Now I got to do it all by myself, or not
yeah,
by myself. I got to wait for my turn or something like that.
yes, yeah. I gotta wait my turn. So, I think for me, the biggest thing that has pushed me is my failures. I feel like obviously softball is a game of failure and I'm going to fail, and I can acknowledge that and accept that. Like I can accept I'm not going to go 5 for 5 every game. I'm not going to hit a home run every game. Like that's acknowledging the fact it's not being unconfident. It's acknowledging the fact that softball is a very hard game to play. But I never wanted to leave the field with any regrets at the end of the day, like whether it was just a practice, whether it was a travel ball tournament, a high school game. I always remember like my coach always said, he was like, when you go home and you look in the mirror, like, can you tell yourself that you gave 100% of all you had? And the nights that I couldn't say that, it like ate at me. Like I wanted to just get back on the
Hmm.
softball field and get another chance, just to give my all. And so I think just being able to say that I've given 100% of my effort and my attitude, like things that I can control,
Hmm.
it helps me sleep at night, even if, I have my worst game or my best game,
Hmm.
knowing that I just gave my all and I didn't take any shortcuts is really what helped build my routine.
Right. And now with a routine, I don't want to ask the same question again, but is there like specifics like non-negotiables that you always do like when you're training? Like, is there music? Is there like some sort of superstition or like some food that you always eat before or after? Like, what are some of the things like specifically, if you can narrow that down?
Yeah. Um, I would say broadly in like a weekly routine, um, since I've been here, I've learned like one thing that really makes me feel confident, makes me feel prepared, is hitting in the cages by myself at night.
Hmm.
It's just kind of my form of therapy, and I put on music, whatever I'm feeling.
There you
Whether
go.
Yeah, I mean, I change up the music every time. I'll say that I don't have the same playlist that I play, but I mean, sometimes it's whatever's current, sometimes it's worship music, sometimes it's country, like just whatever mood I'm
Definitely, yeah.
feeling.
I feel like every vibe has a different sort of tone or whatever
Exactly.
you're feeling. Yeah, definitely.
hmm Yeah,
Um,
so I definitely think like having my own time to put my extra work in, like by myself, where I can think through mechanics and go through like my T work routine. That's really what has always made me feel confident from like since I was 12. And taking it here at FSU has definitely paid off and definitely helped me.
when you said T work, so back when you were 12, is that when you started softball?
I started when I was 5,
Oh,
but when I
excuse
learned
me.
about like the T work routines was when I got on Coach Eric's team. We did T work every single day, and like coming here, I've realized everyone has their different routine. Some people like to go straight into front toss or straight into live or straight
Right,
into BP, but I like really like to warm up on the tee and do my stuff
right.
by myself, and then go into front toss and stuff. And everyone has a different routine, but yeah, since I was 12 was the time that I did all the T work drills that people probably can imagine in their minds. So,
Absolutely. So now let's talk about like sort of the future and your goals, right? So obviously the goal, win a national championship, obvious.
mm,
I want to know some like personal sort of not I guess yeah, like personal like development sort of goals. Where do you want to see your character go this next year? And I mean ultimate win a national championship. But is there other team goals too that you see in the future for yourself?
mm. I would love to win an ACC championship because honestly, the ACC is very competitive, with the addition of Duke and Clemson, and Virginia Tech's got a great team, Notre Dame's got a great team. There was never like a cakewalk game in the ACC anymore. Like it's very competitive. Everybody that we play, and you never know, whoever shows up to the ballpark
Wow.
better than
Yeah.
you is going to pull it off. So I would love to win an ACC championship because I think there's a lot of history behind or a lot of history behind Florida State winning an ACC championship, and we didn't
Definitely.
get that opportunity last year. So that's definitely one of, I would say, our team goals. But for me personally, I would love to be. I mean, my dream goal would be to be an All American. I feel like that would just be one of the highest honors but just definitely check a box, check a list for a personal goal of mine. And I think just for me, it's really about staying consistent. When I think too far ahead of my personal goals, that's usually when I lock myself up and I try too hard to be
Hmm.
perfect, and I try too hard to make things happen and get on base. And my teammates really keep me grounded in that. My teammates' respect means everything to me, and um, the way that they can like look to me as a leadoff or just as a leader on the team means the world to me, and I never want to break their trust in that. So I think just being myself and being consistent every day is going to get me to the goals that I have in mind, and maybe some goals that I didn't have in mind that I do end up reaching. So,
Absolutely. And when you said like you don't sometimes you don't want to focus so much on the personal accomplishments because then you get in your head and you're like, oh, I
mhm.
got it. My teammates got to hold me accountable. I think that's super important because so many athletes, especially as you move up in like levels from high school to college to pro, everyone starts getting in their head, and I feel like not that everyone is like that, but I feel like there's a portion where then it becomes like a toxic culture. So I feel like you staying sort of humble and like your teammates holding you accountable, like you said staying grounded. That's really important. I feel. So now let's talk about like game. It's game day. Picture this. It's game day. You're leading off, say, or wherever you are in the lineup. Like you don't want to call yourself. Um, what is going through your mind right before the game? What is the pregame mindset like? What do you do right before you get out onto the field?
Yeah. So before the game, let's say like 15 minutes before first pitch, we have finished like our warm ups and our lines. Um, we usually do a prayer circle, just for anyone who wants to pray on the team, and that's usually when I start really getting locked in. But it's kind of like my deep breath away from the game before it starts, knowing like
Mm,
whatever happens, like my result or my outcome, or whether I go 3 for 3 or 0 for 3, like it's not ultimately my worth,
mm,
and that usually calms my nerves down. Obviously, when we get to postseason and seasons on the line, the nerves are heightened, I would say for sure. But really staying grounded in that prayer circle, and then we do our gate. We call it gate, and we all circle up and we do the war chant together, and then we pretty much know that it's like us against them, and um, that's pretty much like our battle cry, our
wow. Yeah.
call to war, our call to battle, um, and then I usually say one last prayer privately before we do the national anthem, and then run out for first pitch. But I think just reminding myself, like whatever happens, I'm not going to be a changed person because of the result of the game. I play softball because I love it and because I have fun and because my teammates are just so amazing, and I love being out there with my teammates and my sisters. And um, I don't ultimately play it for the success, because when I get focused on the success in a game of failure, that's usually when I feel like I just don't know who I am anymore. And I've learned that
Mm,
like softball is definitely a part of me, but it's not all of me.
right.
Um, so yeah, usually before the game, I try to remind myself just to have fun and relax and enjoy the moment, because if I'm locked up about results and success, I won't be able to look myself in the mirror after the game and say that I had
Wow.
fun and enjoyed myself. So
Yeah. So the caught my attention right there is you said, well, obviously Florida State Seminoles. You do your little war cry or war chant like you
hmm
mentioned. That brings me back to high school because my school, Manalapan Braves, we were the same sort of way. So football, we would run in a tunnel, middle of the field. You would do like something really similar to, I'm guessing, what you guys do,
hmm
and so that's actually really cool. Probably a really cool little thing that you guys do as a team bonding. And then of
yeah,
course, like I feel like that little prayer circle that you said you guys do also before that, and then even by yourself, little say something. I feel like that's just like in a way, sports is sort of like, if you think about it, like really deep, kind of like war, because like you said, them us versus them. So that's another connection, another like really I don't want to sound corny, but like a mythical sort of like clash, which I feel like is
yeah.
really interesting and really cool, especially if
hmm
you're into sports and like you're competitive. I feel. Last thing I want to mention here. Who are some of your role models, and also what is the best advice someone has like ever given you that you would like to reciprocate to another athlete that's maybe coming up?
So my top role model, I mean, she surpasses all the other people that I look up to, is Haley McClenny. She played softball at Alabama, and then she was on the Olympic team. I've just looked up to her from an outfielder standpoint, from a lefty standpoint, from a faith standpoint. I've always just loved her humbleness and her drive to get better and her passion for the game and her passion for her faith as well. So I've looked up to her since pretty much she was a freshman in college. I remember my dad pulled something up on YouTube and was like, "Oh my gosh, you have to see this diving catch. Look at this play." And I don't remember how old I was, but from that moment I was hooked. Like I watched almost every game that she was playing, and like I just loved following her career. So
Do you
she's
know
definitely
her?
a role model to me.
Do you know her? Like, are you
I
like
do
you
now,
like
yeah.
connected? Yeah,
I
that's
was
really
able
cool.
to. She was around our facility my true freshman year because she's with Kylie Hansen, who was our volunteer coach that year,
Hmm.
and um, yeah, so I was obviously like really starstruck at first because I was too scared to ask her anything or say hi. Like I was just like a little shy girl. Like I was too scared to say anything. But T Will really pushed me to build a relationship with her because she just had such a high softball IQ for the game, and she was here, so I might as well learn something from her. And pretty much from that point on, we've I would say I've gotten to know her, and she's definitely been, I guess, in support of me. I've been in support of her. Um, and it's super cool to see that, to like have a connection with someone who was your role model
Of
growing up.
course, yeah.
So
I swear, if I like met like somebody who like if I'm playing high school football and I meet like some college kid that I think, oh yeah, like I want to be just like him, same position, same everything that I
mhm.
represent, and I meet them at the next level. If I mean I'm not there, but if I was there, that would be so cool. So I'm sure you were like ecstatic and of course nervous, but to someone that you look up to your whole life. But then going off her or really anybody else, do you have any advice you'd give like a younger girl playing softball or really any other athlete that is looking for inspiration in some way?
Mhm. Yeah, I remember my freshman year. I had a lot of ups and downs, and then it got cut short because of COVID. We only played, I think, like 20 something games. But I remember that season and last season, I really learned trust the process. Coach always preached it, always said it in our meetings, put it in our emails. And, I was, from a surface level standpoint, I was like, oh, yeah, like I trust the process. Like I know everything's going to work out. But, in the end, I realized that I didn't. I realized I was trying to control every little moment. And I thought that, one game was the end of the world if I didn't do well. And last year, not being in the lineup really through regular season a lot was really hard for me. And um, from that point, I pretty much had two options. I could have just kind of given up and thrown in the towel and been a bad teammate and just patted at the end of the bench, or I could have just put my head down and got my work in, been the best supportive teammate. And I'm glad that I chose the latter. I had a lot of open conversations with Coach about it too, and it was never anything against the coaches. I never was mad at them or angry. I just simply loved softball and wanted to play every second that I could. But I remember Coach kept like preaching, just trust the process, trust the process. Like your moment will come, and it did in the World Series. And,
Right?
that's it.
Yeah.
But
Um,
that lesson was
absolutely.
definitely learned. I definitely would give that advice to young players, and even if you can't really compare it to a season going and ending in OKC, just with your work ethic, I think can take you so far in this game if you're doing it because you love it and not because you want any recognition or success um, for yourself. I feel like if you're doing it because you love it, it's going to take you to the next level and help you reach all your goals and dreams.
Absolutely, and I can't believe I didn't mention this earlier, but yeah, that World Series last year, it was like pretty impressive the game you had.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I remember just kind of feeling. I mean, I'm a softball rat, so I've watched softball since I started, and being in the World Series, I had to like pinch myself. It was like the best week of my life. But I remember feeling like so like a kid in a candy store. Like it was crazy. But I mean, I remember Teal saying like make the most of your time here. You don't know if you're ever going to be back in your 4 years, 5 years. Just make the most of it and treat it like your playground, like you're going out on the playground. You're not going out to compete for a national championship and put all this pressure on yourself. Sorry, you're going out on your playground. And so I really took that mentality just to have fun and be where my feet are. And it definitely helped. It definitely was the most fun week of my life. I can look back and have no regrets. So
Absolutely. Great conversation with you. I know you got to get going because it's just about 5:40.
yes, I got
But
class,
yeah, so I'm
unfortunately.
going to get you to class right now. We want to thank you for coming on, Kaylee. Great insight here. I can't wait to see what this season holds for you, and I'm big fans of Florida State going forward, actually.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Of course, of course. Well, so that's about it. Thank you.
Cool, thank you.
All right.